It looks like we're live. Excellent. Okay, welcome everybody to the sellahousearizona.com Property Noodlers Wholesale Real Estate Training. It is Wednesday, January 21st, and we're already halfway through this third week of the first month of this year. And I have a question for you. Are you working towards those goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the years? Do you have goals set for this year? And if you do, have you written them down? And if you haven't set goals and you haven't written them down for this year, why not? We're still early enough in the year that you could put together your plan for making this year one of the most successful years of your life. Because, think about it. When you subtract out the time that it takes commuting to work, the time you spend at work, the time for doing the things that not necessarily you want to do, but doing the things that you have to do each and every day, the time for sleeping. You know that most people will have less than 1, maybe 2 hours a day to actually do what they want to do. And then if you did have the time to do exactly what you wanted to do, well, would you have the money? You know what? If I told you that Paul and myself have discovered a system for noodling for properties, that you could work from home and it's simple and it just requires sharing and talking and educating people, and it's so simple that really anybody with a burning desire and a drive to make their lives better could do it, and it wouldn't take much of your time, you wouldn't happen to know anybody that would be interested in something like that, would you?
I do. Good morning, John. How are we doing today? Yeah, thanks. Good, nice little intro there. And exactly, that is a great little introduction to the noodling system because it is so easy. It is something that anyone can do. It is building a home-based business, and it is something that you're not going to be. I love. There's a saying in the network marketing business that we're in that goes, "You're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself." And our noodling program is built upon that same premise. You're in this wholesale real estate thing for yourself, of course, but you're not in this by yourself when you join the noodling program. So that's really cool. And so, yeah, do you know anybody that would be interested in something like that, building a home-based business based around wholesale real estate that is easy, that anyone can do because you have help along the way. You don't have to go out there and figure this all out for yourself. I mean, do you know anybody that would be interested in doing that? I would think if you have any desire to do real estate, that your answer would be yes. So with that, we're going to get into some content today about actually, let's say you join the team, we get you set up, you're talking to people about getting a deal because that's right where we throw you into the mix. And so how do you go about talking to people, right? That's a key element. You've got to be able to talk to people. We're going to put you right into doing that immediately. You're going to be talking to somebody quite likely on day one. And so you're going to want to have some little ideas, some tips and tricks, some secrets, some fantastic historical, ways of communicating with people that most people don't employ into their regular communications with others, like maybe we did years ago, just because society has really drawn us away from all of that stuff. Being personable with people, really trying to remember people's names, doing all these things that really connect you with another human being is not part of typical speech today. I mean, yo, bro, that ain't gonna be really hitting it down with getting, you know, getting talking with the seller and making a connection with somebody. You know, that kind of stuff turns people off, quite honestly. So we're going to get into a little bit about talking to people today, right, John?
Absolutely. Like I want to get into some good content today for people that are just joining us, or maybe have seen a couple of our hangouts and they heard me and Paul make invites day after day on these things to come join our team, and they may be saying to themselves, "Okay, I'm thinking about joining the team, but you give me some information. Let me know what your team is all about, or what you guys are actually training people to do." As we said on the last hangout on Monday, we're actually creating the motivated seller rather than waiting or attracting the motivating seller. We've figured out, and what's part of our system is that we're finding people that don't know they're motivated yet until, in a manner of speaking, we show up to just show them what their motivation is. So with that being said, this is a people business. This is a business, yes, it's wholesaling real estate, but you want to be successful at wholesaling real estate, you've got to understand two simple things. Number one, it's sales, and number two, it is marketing. Sales and marketing, but moreover, it is promoting and it's connecting with people. So if you've got your pens and your paper, I suggest, if you don't, pulling that out and get ready to take some notes, because I think we're going to get into some really good content here about how to deal with the home seller, how to create that motivation within them, and how to talk to people. Because when you get started on the team, that's actually the first part of the system, is that we're going to get you talking to motivated sellers, or using the abilities and the things that we're going to teach you here today on this hangout to motivate these sellers. So I'll say one of the key books out there right now that I'd like to recommend to everybody watching this hangout, and you should write this one down, and I got my copy in my hand right here because I've got some notes in here, and Paul's got his too. You know, take a look at this title, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I got this book at a used bookstore for, I think, $3. $3.75. And you know what was cool about it? The person who had it before me made some notes in the margins, and I love that because I like seeing what other people thought of. But, you know, it's important that you learn how to connect with people, how to build relationships, and how to talk to people. And you know what? For a lot of people, it's a little bit scary. That's a little bit scary of a concept. But when you join the team, you have two guys, Paul and myself, that are going to be there as a support system for you, training you, reviewing with you our scripts and our materials, and teaching you how to talk to sellers. So, you know, right out the gate, I think one thing to keep in mind and write this down is that you're going to want to begin to develop a deep desire to provide value to people. You're going to want to have to develop yourself a deep desire to not only provide value, but to master the principles of human behavior and human psychology. Start reading books about it, because not just in wholesale real estate, your ability to connect with people and understand how people think and act and why they do the things they do is going to be key to success, quite frankly, in all areas of your life. It's not going to just help you here in dealing with motivated sellers, but dealing with your children, dealing with your spouse, or if you're not married, you know, going out to the bar or whatever you do to pick up chicks. I mean, these are great skills to have for that too, because that's a sale. Dating is sales and negotiation, whether you want to believe that or not. Dealing with your kids, I'm constantly selling and negotiating my kids. So I just wanted to kind of intro our content today by saying how important it is that you develop a desire to understand people and understand psychology and human behavior.
Yeah, exactly. People don't realize that they're in sales and marketing every day of their life whether they're in sales and marketing or not, because you're constantly each and every day selling yourself, and you're marketing yourself. That's what life is. And so the person who can become a master at sales and marketing, which if you break down what is sales and marketing, it's really nothing more than talking to people, communicating with people, whether it's verbally in person, whether it's on a written letter that you're sending to somebody, whether it's in a marketing piece, a postcard, an advertisement, a commercial, a television commercial. It's all about how are you talking to people. And obviously, there's people out there that are masters at this. Look at the television commercials. Think about a television commercial the next time you watch a TV commercial, and look at it. Think about it from the other side of the television. Think about it from the person who's creating that and the person who's putting that on the TV, and what they are thinking about in how they are communicating to you. A couple of steps. We're probably not going to get really far with this today because, yeah, I mean, we could do a couple of weeks probably on just communicating with people, but a couple of steps for successful sales and marketing approach basically is, number one, you have to get people's attention. So very quickly when we're communicating to our potential sellers is we want to hit them with something that's going to grab their attention, something that's going to open their eyes and say, "Oh, wow, really?" That's where we want to be. Secondarily, immediately from that point in time, once you've got their attention, now the first thing you want to do is you want to get people to like you, because people want to do business with people that they like. So the second step really is, from once you've grabbed their attention, you want to immediately try to build some rapport. And the best way to obviously build rapport with somebody is, like I said, to get them to like you. So how do you get people to like you? Well, in this book, there are several chapters in here where he runs through the 6 principles of 6 ways to make people like you. And I'm just going to really quickly just run through what these 6 principles are right here, and then I'll let John elaborate, and that's probably going to be the end of our call. So the 6 principles. Principle number one is to become genuinely interested in other people. Okay, so when you're in your conversation with your seller, you need to be listening to what they're saying. I love the phrase that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them proportionately. Okay, you're going to be listening to what they're saying, and you're going to be using what they tell you to show your genuine interest. Whether they happen to, in the middle of their conversation, be interrupted by their dog and say, "Oh, Spot, go away." Hey, you can use that when it's your turn to speak. "Oh, you named your dog Spot. Is that because he's got little, the spot on his nose there?" Or whatever it is. Something silly, something that has nothing to do with real estate. If you can pull something out of their conversation that you can direct that, I mean, that's showing a genuine interest in that person, not necessarily in the reason why you're here. Number two, principle number two, smile. Probably the easiest one of all, but for a lot of us, the hardest thing to do. People take a first impression. What is the saying about a first impression? A first impression is a lasting impression. You just smiling as you're walking towards the door. Maybe they're looking out the window. If you got a frown on your face as you're walking up the door, you're schlepping your way up there because you got to go, talk to, go knock on another person's door that you talk to. They're going to look out there and they're going to go, "Oh, who's this guy?" Smile, your posture, stand up straight, all those types of things. But smiling says a lot, and we'll get into that later. Principle number three is remember a person's name. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but basically, you're walking up there, you're talking to this person, you already know their name, hopefully, but you want to use their name, obviously, and you want to use it often. Don't just start out with it and then never use it again. You got to throw their name in continually throughout your conversation. It's an attention getter. Through people listening to your own name is like, "Ooh, me? Ooh, me?" You ever been in the deli or into some place where people have to leave their names, the place where you write, you Starbucks, for instance. You go in there to get a coffee, you give them their name, and then you're sitting over there in the corner, and there happens to be somebody else in front of you with the same name, and they call their name, but what does it do? Ooh, you're attentive. You want it, you're on it. Principle number 4 is be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. As I talked about sort of in the beginning of this, somebody mentions their dog Spot. Boom, hey, throw out their dog Spot, let them talk. Let them get some stuff off their chest. Let them control the conversation at first. And that's a great way. You don't The funny thing about all this is you're not even talking. They're doing all the talking, and they're feeling like you're attracting, by shutting up, you're attracting them to you. It's crazy. All right. Principle number 5, talk in terms of the other person's interests. Again, if they happen to mention, or you walk up and the garage door's open and you see they got a motorcycle out there, mention something about the motorcycle. Wow, hey, that's a pretty cool hog you got out there. How long you had that thing? Whatever. And principle number 6 is make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. That's the thing. If you're fake about this, it's going to show right through, and everything that you've done up until this point, the first 5 principles, out the window. If they can read through your, phoniness, so to speak, everything else is worthless. And how do you make people feel important? Really, you edify them. You validate their point of view. Somebody says something, you don't defend it. You don't defend yourself against it. You agree with them right away. John brought up a perfect point yesterday about talking to somebody. Ooh, talking to somebody about a seller financing possibility with the purchase of a property. John, why don't you throw that in there real quick?
Yeah, no, this is a very interesting thing, and actually, I learned this by making mistakes several times with dealing with people. Negotiate a seller financing deal. There's an extreme level of trust and a level of trust, comfort that goes along with having a seller agree to give you terms. It's a long-term relationship, so it's really you've got to utilize just about every single one of the principles that Paul just brought up. Now, one of the questions or objections that these people will have almost every time when you negotiating seller finance terms or a lease option or buying a property on terms that's going to create a long-term relationship with this person. I've had this objection every time, and until recently I've always mishandled it, is that they'll say something along the lines of, well, what happens if you stop making payments? Then I'll have to go to the courts and foreclose on you. And most of our reactions would be, oh no, don't worry about that. I'm an investor. I'm never gonna not make those payments. I will always make my payments on time to you. I can promise you that. You know what? You sound pathetic, like you're defending yourself. And that actually isn't really make that person feel comfortable. In a way, you're arguing with them, right? You're defending yourself, you're arguing with yourself, and you're making a promise, and they really don't know you. So are they even going to believe that you're being sincere with that? So you might be saying to yourself now, it's like, well, what am I supposed to say if someone says up? You say, you know what, Joe? Let's say I'm making this deal with Joe. He says, well, what happens if you stop making payments? I'm going to have to foreclose on you and take you to court. Rather than say, hey, Joe, I'm never going to not make my payments, you say, you're right, Joe. If I do stop making the payments, you will have to take me to court. And then that's all you say, and you just look them in the eye with a really confident look in the eye, and basically you just tell them, you're right, that is what you're going to have to do if I stop making payments.
That goes right along with that principle number 6 I just spoke of, where I talked about making the other person feel important by edifying them and by validating their point of view.
Right, and a little tip like that is more powerful than you could possibly imagine, and it works in a lot of other ways. In sales, uh, most amateur salesmen, when they are come up with I guess we'll go with this to kind of close out because we got a few minutes left here. But the natural tendency of the amateur salesman is to defend themselves when challenged or somebody has an objection. But you know what? Validate their objection. You know their objection has substance. And even if you disagree with their objection or you feel that they're wrong in having that objection, doesn't matter because it's never about you. This is important to understand. It's always about the other person. So every objection deserves to be validated. Every objection deserves validation. And rather than defend or convince them that their objection is wrong in a direct manner, you actually just accept it and validate it and say, you know, Joe, you're right. That is a possibility. However, let's look at it from this point of view. You know, that is much more powerful than trying to overcome the objection by defending your position. Validate people. That is so, it sounds so simple, but it is so key and tantamount to everything. What's your thought on that, Paul? Paul? Did we lose Paul? Did we lose me? You know, people, these Google Hangouts are funny. It says we're still live. I see Paul's face frozen. I don't know if you're hearing me or Paul right now. So I guess what I'll do is I will continue with what we were saying there. But yeah, I'll always validate people and compliment their objections in a way and overcome it by making it about them. So those are some key concepts there, is basically in a sales and a negotiation, it's never about you. You'll get what you want by making it about other people. And there's a saying, you know, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We must use them in proportion. And as Paul pointed out earlier, the great thing, or what makes dealing with people actually simpler than most people realize, is that you're never waiting your turn to talk. You're always listening to what other people have to say and asking questions. Asking open-ended questions to get people talking is what's going to make them feel comfortable with you. And then building rapport and not making it, you know, we're there to negotiate and purchase the real estate, but let's make it more about them and try to connect on something, whether it's about dogs or motorcycles, or you're in their house and you see a picture of them on top of Mount Everest. Make it about their interests or their hobbies or something. Connect with them in a casual way, because that connection will make them comfortable, and people do business with people they like. And the way to get people to like you is just to follow those 6 principles that Paul had mentioned, and I'll run through them real fast. Number 1 principle, become genuinely interested in people and show an interest in what they have to say. Don't be talking to somebody in a negotiation, checking your cell phone, looking at your pockets, scratching your face. Be intent, make eye contact, listen to them, show an interest in what they have to say. The other principle is smile. People are attracted to happy people. It's attractive and makes people feel at ease when they're with someone that's smiling, opposed to frowning or looking down. The other principle is remember that person's name and use it. Someone's name is music to their ears. Remember someone's name and use their name often throughout the conversation. Be a good listener. 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in proportion, ask questions, and encourage them to talk about themselves. Always talk in terms of other people's interests. Well, what is the best offer I can make? What works for you? What's the least amount that you'd be willing to take? You know, questions like that. Make the sale and the negotiation all about them and what they need and what their interests are. And then finally, make others feel important. Validate their objections and do it with sincerity. So I see that we've lost Paul. We're up at about 25 minutes. So how to win friends and influence people. I mean, most of the most accomplished salespeople, anyone who's achieved any sort of success that I know or I've been mentored by, has all recommended this book. I recommend this book. The principles in this book will change your life and just how you will deal with not only people and sales and negotiation, but literally it will help you do what the title says, and that's how to win friends and influence people. And this book will help you do that. Come back Friday, because we will definitely be digging into more concepts on how to deal with people and give specific examples of how to overcome objections that you will have when negotiating on purchasing properties from motivated sellers. So thank you for joining. Friday, 8:30, same place, same time, and I'll see you then. Oh, universe, I asked not for more wisdom, but for more riches. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. Oh, universe, I asked not for more riches because I've already been given the riches at birth, which is the power to control and direct my mind. I ask for more wisdom, which to control my mind more effectively. So with that being said, make it a great day, and we'll see you on Friday.